Hello everyone, Ron Johnson here from L.T.L Tutoring Central, and if you're looking for tips and strategies to help with your learning, you are in the right place. Whenever you're writing, and it really doesn't matter what you're writing, you want your ideas to connect to one another. In other words, you want your writing to have flow. And one method to achieve this is by using transitions. Transitions are words or phrases that sort of act as links, or they connect your ideas together. They can be used within sentences, they can be used between sentences to connect those sentences, or they can be used between paragraphs to connect paragraphs. And we're going to look in this video at a number of examples. There are lots of transition words and lots of transition phrases, but we're going to have a look at some examples, certainly not all of them. And one note of caution, be careful not to overuse transitions. Just like any tool, it could be used or it could be abused. So some writers, some students, sometimes they go back into their writing and they've learned about transitions or they've remembered about transitions and they start putting transitional words or phrases everywhere. And that can have the opposite effect. It can make the reading much more difficult to, or the writing much more difficult to read and much more difficult to understand. Using transitions sparingly and correctly can make your reading much more vibrant and much easier to understand, and that will help. Obviously, the reader will enjoy reading it more, and if that happens to be a teacher or professor, of course, that often will help the grade as well, because if you can read something and understand it on the first try, it's a lot better than having to reread sentences or paragraphs and try to figure out what the author actually means. So let's look at some examples of transitions and you'll have a better idea of what I mean. Here are a few transitions for time relationships. After, before, earlier, first, later, meanwhile, next, since. And here's an example. We will need to confirm the location. Meanwhile, let's focus on the attendees. So you always want to make sure that you're using the transitional word or phrase with the correct connotation. So always make sure that if you are, for example, in this case, working with a time relationship, that if something comes later, it actually comes later or next or earlier. So make sure that the connotation of the word is correct. And in these slides, I'm looking at connections or transitions between sentences, but remember that these transition words can be used within in a sentence. They don't have to be separate sentences, and they can be used to introduce a new paragraph as well. Transitions for spatial relationships, and this looking at space and the way things are organized within that space. Across, above, behind, below, beside, between, in front of, next to the left. And here's an example. The major building on the block is the Prime Insurance Company. To the left is a small red brick coffee shop called Coffee Cups. Transitions to summarize. In short, in conclusion, therefore, to sum up. And here's the example. A winter storm enveloped the city for hours. Therefore, the convention was delayed. Transitions to show logical relationship. Consequently, for this reason, if, since, so, therefore. You'll notice therefore, and some of the other transitions can pop up in different kinds of relationships. Here's the example. The coach drilled the soccer players with new plays. Consequently, they were prepared to defeat the opponents. Transitions to show addition. Also, and, further, moreover, next. Ruth loved hiking, camping, and fishing. Also, she enjoyed exploring unknown territory. Transitions to give examples. For example, for instance, specifically, to illustrate. Encourage your children to become lifelong learners. For example, model reading, read to them, and have them read to you. Transitions to contrast. Although, however, nevertheless, on the other hand, yet. Education can be expensive. On the other hand, a lack of education can be far more expensive. There we are, a few examples of transitions and the ways to use them. There are, of course, many more. I have also written a blog about transitions, and there are some different examples there. So if you want to check that out, I will put a link below. I will also be putting links for the website and for my books, etc. So be sure to check all of that out. Don't forget to click on the like, the thumbs up, click on subscribe, and that way you'll be notified. It helps the algorithm, helps the channel stay alive and lively, and keeps me going too. So I really appreciate it. In the meantime, it's Ron Johnson from L.T.L Tutoring Central. Keep learning and keep having fun. Bye-bye for now.